All right, so now let's get started with the fitting. So I'm going to click on the fit tab here. And the first thing we need to deal with is the eyeball. Now, I think that with all the selection that has been done prior, there's really no need to select the geometry. I think it even tells you right there, no selection needed. And if you, at the beginning, under preparation here, under, I think here, if you did a lot of this definition here, the system has enough of what it needs. But I think this is what's important here. It says no selection needed. So you can just click the eyeball to get the fitter. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit OK because in my body setup, I didn't do any of the things that I needed to do to utilize things like the auto fitter and the skin cage. So I didn't do that little definition thing in the beginning. So I'm going to go OK. So it's giving me this little thing here to fit the eye. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back my joints because I remember that I went through a painstaking process of making sure that my eye joints are in the correct location. Okay, so it looks like it's going to redo the positioning of the eye joint. If you remember at the beginning, I really went through this process of ensuring that my joint for the eye was at the correct place. If you remember, I couldn't just put my joint at the center of the eye because of the way the eye geometry is. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let me go to 5 and isolate the eye. Actually, before I isolate the eye, let me find out where this little tool, this little fitter is. So this fitter is right there. Okay, under face group. I just want to have that exposed so I can add it to the viewport selection. So if I select my eye, geometries, let me do that again, and isolate them. Let me go into the right view. So because this thing is not a perfectly symmetrical piece in profile, if I try to allow it to just put its tool in the center, I'm not going to get a right thing. None of these geometries, their center point, this one for instance, this outer transparent layer, its center is not going to be in the center of this circle. Because there's an offset, it's going to push it off center and this thing won't rotate properly. And that's the same for the actual eye underneath. Because it's offset inwards, it's not going to put that thing at this center, right? It's going to shift it off here somewhere. So if we add this eye fitter to the viewport selection, let me go add selected, and I go 4. Yeah, you see it has not put it in the center. And if you remember from that lesson, I said the actual center of this is where you have the widest circumference of this eye. This would be the center of this eyeball. And it would be the same if I use this, where I have the widest circumference. Now, to be on the safe side, I could repeat what I did in the previous lesson when I was trying to center the eye. If you remember, I took this inside one, I duplicated it, and go Shift P. And if I isolate it and I select the widest circumference and I go to my rigging tab and go deform and I create a cluster, this little cluster in there, that's the actual center point that I'm looking for. So I really could just take this fit joint and just snap it to this just to be on the safe side. And I think that should be what I should do. So I'll just snap it to the cluster. And it's basically just redoing what I did in the lesson where I was fitting the eye joint. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is a bit of rotation. So I'm going to go wireframe and shaded. And actually, I might not need to do a rotation because I think with her eyes, I made sure they're pointing directly forward. So I don't have to do any additional orientation. Let me cross-check that. Select all this, deselect it might be, if I go to the front view, I think Yeah, I don't think I need any rotation about the y-axis, and definitely not about the x. This eye geometry is pointing fairly straightforward. All right, so now the next one we're going to move on to is the eyelid stuff. So we're looking for eyelid outer, and for this model, I tried to make sure that the eyelids had a lot of edge loops so that I wouldn't get any weird faceting as I try to create blinks for the character. So that's why you see a dense amount of edge loops. What this allows me to do is it allows me to figure out exactly where my eyelid outer is. So if I right click and go to edge, this is pretty much it. All right, so that's my eyelid outer. Or I actually should go for, no, I think that's good. I was contemplating using the next row over, but I think this is good. And to be on the safe side, I'm going to tell it where to do the splitting between the top and the bottom eyelid, because this is a very unique character and I don't want the system to guess. So my split should happen around here. So I'm going to right click and go to multi so that I can select this vertice. All right, this allows you to select several components at once. And then on the outside part, I know that this will be the split point. So this is basically everything above these vertices is what I want to define as my upper eyelid, and everything below is the lower eyelid. I'm actually going to make a few alterations because I can contemplate some issues. So one thing I'm going to do initially is I'm going to deselect all of these and make sure I pick the edge inside. I think it'd be smarter to use this, right? And on this side, when I go to multi to pick the vertice, I'm not going to pick the one down here. I think I'm going to pick one that's closer to the central point. I can portend some issues arising with the blinks if I'm too far down here. So I think this one is better to pick. And on the other side, I'll also try to pick the more central point, right? The more central vertice. So that would be this one. If I was rigging this face myself, I'd definitely pick this one, this vertice down here, and this one that aligns with the bottom eyelash, so that everything above here would be the top eyelid. But I don't want to give Advanced Skeleton the responsibility of dealing with that. I'll give it the simpler thing to do, so I'll pick the central point. It'll make the blinks a little easier. Okay, so now I can click the eyelid outer since I have these points. All right, so it looks like Advanced Skeleton doesn't like what I just did. Even though it's one of the things that's allowed, you are allowed to select an edge loop for the outer eyelid and then select 2 additional vertices. Okay, so let me try this again with it in edge mode. Maybe it likes that better. Since the vertices are selected, if I go into vertexes, they are selected here, so maybe it'll respect it. So let me go into edge and hit this button again. All right, so that was the issue. It looks like Advanced Skeleton doesn't like that defining of the bottom and lower eyelid. That is weird because I know that it should be fine. It should accept it. By right clicking and going to edge mode and getting out of multi mode, I have basically disabled those vertices I selected. So they don't count. You don't get to define where the lower and bottom eyelid is. Yeah, it does say here, select the edge loop. You can select a vertex on the edge loop to identify where to separate the upper and lower eyelid. So I don't know why it doesn't like that, but that's fine. Ultimately, all this is really defining is what it's going to do with the skinning. So if it brings in the result and I more than likely know it's not going to be right, it'll just be a matter of fixing the skinning. It should be an easy fix to just redefine what the eyelid is supposed to have charge over. Let's hope it doesn't do too much damage. I'm going to move on to the next eyelid element that needs to be defined, and that's eyelid main. And this would be where the eyelids touch on a blink. So it would be underneath here. Let me pick that edge loop. That's good enough. All right, so I'm going to click eyelid main. Okay, so that gets defined. And the last one to pick is the eyelid inner. Now I could go in and pick it, but I just want to show you the cool tool that it has that allows you to get some assistance. So if I was to click this assist button, yeah, it'll pull out the geometry so I can see the inside better. But I think just isolating it is enough to be able to tell where the eyelid inner is going to be. I'm going to pick one of these edges over here. Yeah, I'll just stick with this one. All right, so stick with this edge loop and go eyelid inner. Okay, so this is the enclosure it's created. It's advised that you do a quick inspection of it. Let me isolate this. Take a look. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Nice edge loops. So that should be it for the eyelids, and we'll see how things turn out.